Melania Trump. Муж, наконец, победил, готовится во второй.
Nude photos of Melania Trump have been aired on Russia's most watched state TV channel during a program supposedly dedicated to celebrating Trump's election victory. This comes after Trump allegedly urged Putin not to escalate the Ukraine war in a phone call last week. But the Kremlin denies that this phone call ever took place. Despite Trump's repeated claims that he has a good relationship with Putin, things appear to have gotten off to a rocky start between the pair. As of right now, experts estimate that 50,000 Russian and North Korean troops are getting ready to carry out an assault on Ukrainian positions in the Kursk region.
They asked him, what do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that the one you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military. Jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And that's what they should. If they're going to do it. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it, but we'll find out whatever their plans are. But great question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll go straight into it because, well, I'd need 3 times the length of this monologue even to begin to do justice to the explosion of feces, human, political feces, which has occurred since the dropping of not 3 million, they lied about that as they're lying about everything else, but 2,700,000 pages. I wonder what was in the other 300,000 pages. I wonder what was in the other 3 million pages, because they had 6 million pages at the beginning of Pam Bondi's revelations, but the revelations that have emerged are simply devastating to the entire credibility of the Western political media and business class. They're all in it. It's one big dirty club, and you're not in it, and thank your lucky stars for that. For the secrets that have tumbled out of this latest dump, and I use the word advisedly, a sewage dump, the revelations that have dumped on us are truly breathtaking. We're talking about male rape, we're talking about female rape, we're talking about child rape, we're talking about child impregnation. We're talking about male sodomy of drugged victims. We're talking about president after president of the American Republic accused in FBI documents of raping men and women, boys and girls. We're talking about murder. We're talking about cannibalism. We're talking about the eating of human flesh sacrificed in satanic rituals. And it's all in the Epstein Files. Now, where does one begin with a dump like that? Well, let's start with the royal families. The British royal family tonight is in ruins. Its credibility was never great, not after the way that now King Charles treated Princess Diana, the mental torture that he inflicted on her, his marriage to the equine so-called Queen Camilla. I say so-called because I was in Parliament when we were solemnly and bindingly guaranteed that Camilla, if given permission to marry Charles, would never be Queen. But routinely, she is now introduced as the Queen of England. He was bad enough. But his brother, Andrew, is now, I think, on the point of being prosecuted, certainly being prosecuted in the United States. And Keir Starmer's call on him to go and face the music in front of the American Congress seems to suggest that this British government would not oppose his extradition if he refused to go. It's that serious. More pictures, more begging letters, more promises by Andrew's ex-wife but still house partner, so-called Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, formerly a duchess, begging for money from a convicted child sex trafficker years after his conviction, calling him the brother that she never had, the promising to Epstein of complete privacy, in quotes, in highlights, complete privacy in Buckingham Palace. She was renting out Buckingham Palace on behalf of the royal family, a convicted child sex predator, a man who these files reveal was involved in espionage everywhere from Libya to Russia to Somaliland, all over the world, to Ukraine, who was plotting the murder of Vladimir Putin. That's the man at the center of all this. And some fools like to say it's all a hoax. It's all a Democratic Party set up. There's nothing to see here. There's millions and millions and millions of pages to see here. And on virtually every page, another politician, another magnate of the capitalist system all over the world is revealed to be just about subhuman in their appetites, just about demonic in their proclivities, in their predilections, and they talk to each other about it in writing, in emails, in messages. They talk about torture, they talk about killing, they talk about murder, they talk about kids, they talk about child trafficking, they talk about the impregnation in the last few minutes of an 11-year-old girl by the former US ambassador to Mexico. Wow. It's breathtaking, and it keeps on coming. It's like a torrent of sewage. It's impossible to keep track of it. It's only when you go back and start to painstakingly analyze it that you see the sheer depth of depravity, of degeneracy. It turns out I'm the only politician in the Western world that isn't cheating on his wife, that's never sodomized anybody, never dreamt for a second of the depravities involved in these Epstein files, and they're all at it. The captains of industry, generals of industry. They're now resigning as these revelations come out. The royal families of Scandinavia, one of the princesses, she might even have been the queen, I don't know, a bicycling queen, but a queen, was impregnated by Jeffrey Epstein. And then he encouraged her, which she presumably did, to have an abortion. It is unbelievable. People are going to the FBI 25 years ago and testifying to the FBI with polygraphs and the rest that Donald Trump, the President of the United States, was raping young girls and smacking them across the face because one of them protested that he hadn't worn protection. He slapped her on the face and said, "You'll have to get an abortion," and he threw money at her for the abortion. This is the man on whom they lay hands. These evangelical maniacs think he's the Son of Christ. Well, he is actually the Son of Christ. His father was called Christ. But that's the place we're in. Bill Gates, that we were told for 25 years was a paragon of humanity. We were treated to his views on every subject under the sun, is revealed to be discussing with Epstein how he can get antibiotics to sprinkle in his wife's martini because he has contracted a sexually transmitted disease from a Russian prostitute and had presumably therefore passed it on to his wife. Gates, Diamond, all these magnates, plutocrats, they were all revolving around Jeffrey Epstein. And I hope it's not anti-Semitic to make this point. Is it anti-Semitic to point out the gigantically disproportionate number of Jews and Israelis and dual Israeli nationals in this farrago of filth that is revealed in these files? I'm asking on behalf of some Pakistani friends in England who are constantly being demonized as somehow uniquely involved in these kind of sexual shenanigans. But they're not sexual shenanigans. It's a big mistake to treat them that way. These are not sexual shenanigans. These are high crimes. These are crimes that should see these men locked up forever, for the rest of their lives, if not more serious and condign punishment. These men are accused of the gravest possible crimes, including up to and including murder itself, even cannibalism itself. It's almost impossible to comprehend. But the emails are there. They were all in correspondence with Epstein. They were all taking money from Epstein. They were all having sex before the cameras of Epstein. They were all desperate to get to his sordid little island, which was sold to the United States, by the way, by Denmark, about whom, if I have time, more later. But it's not just the royal families. The British Parliament stands ruined this evening by the conduct of the former ambassador of His Majesty the King to the court of Donald Trump in Washington, Peter Mandelson. Now, I have known Peter Mandelson for more than 40 years. He was called the Prince of Darkness 40 years ago. Yet Blair and Brown both put him in their cabinets, even though he had already been sacked from the cabinet twice before, 3 times. He was in the British cabinet, and then he was made a peer of the realm. Lord Mandelson, a seat in Parliament for life, so he could milk his contacts book, milk the august surroundings of the Houses of Parliament to impress his friends. And then Keir Starmer, who must have known everything that is in the Epstein Files, except perhaps the financial details. He knew that Mandelson was a sleazeball, that's for sure. The dogs in the street in Westminster knew that Peter Mandelson was a sleazeball. He was the epitome of sleaze. He left a trail of sleaze behind him as he trailed his ermine cloak along the red carpets of the House of Lords. But the financial details are fatal. Fatal, I say to you. And fatal not just to Mandelson, but to those who put him in the House of Lords, and above all, those who appointed him as British ambassador to Washington. And not just the man who did so, Keir Starmer, formerly of this parish in Shanghai. The smell still lingers in the air. But the chief aides who encouraged and buttressed Keir Starmer's decision to send Mandelson to Washington, only to have to ignominiously sack him. Although he's still on an ambassador salary, he's still in the House of Lords, and that is simply untenable. He must be sacked from the House of Lords, and Mandelson and Starmer must answer for their complicity in this affair. The financial details are staggering. The files reveal that Mandelson was encouraging bank bosses to threaten his own government, threaten them, mildly threaten them, because of his own government's plan to introduce bank bonuses. Mandelson, in the files, received 75,000 British pounds from Jeffrey Epstein at a time when he concedes that he was being lobbied by Jeffrey Epstein for changes in the tax regime in Britain. He says he has no recollection of a £75,000 gift from a sex trafficker already convicted. A sex trafficker gives you 75 grand, and the best you can say is you have no recollection of receiving it. Of course, if he did receive it, he must go to prison, because it's illegal for a minister of the crown to receive money, dirty money like that. He must go to prison because he didn't declare it in his registration of interest in the British Parliament. A criminal offence. He must go to prison for his husband receiving £10,000 from Jeffrey Epstein when he was a cabinet minister and failing to declare this subvention, failing to declare the breach of the ministerial code, of which he is ipso facto guilty. But where's HMRC? Where's His Majesty's Revenue and Collection? Where are the tax authorities? Are they investigating at least £85,000 from Epstein to the Mandelson household? And if not, why not? They're certainly busy harassing small business people, publicans, car showroom owners, constantly about their tax affairs. What are they doing about Peter Mandelson? What is the Metropolitan Police doing about Peter Mandelson, who prima facie has broken the law multiple times, whilst a member of Parliament, whilst a cabinet minister, whilst a member of the House of Lords? What is the Metropolitan Police doing about that? What is Shabana Mahmood, the person who ordered that same Metropolitan Police to steal my phone, take my computers, hold me and my wife for hours at gunpoint in a British airport, while Peter Mandelson drives a coach and horses through the law and makes himself fantastically rich in the process? It looks like Donald Trump has retreated from the Persian Gulf. The aircraft carrier Eisenhower, a floating coffin if I ever saw one, has moved from the Persian Gulf and is headed towards the Indian Ocean. Does that mean the threat of war against Iran is over? Well, we're about to find out, because the sage that is Professor Saeed Mohammed Marandi is up next here on the Mother of All Talk Shows. Stay tuned.